Hi, and welcome back to another Stampin' On Friday episode. Today's card we're going to be using another Lawn Fawn set. This one's Critters in the Burb, and I'm also going to be using a paper tray ink set, which is Vintage Sentiments. It goes along with the Vintage picnic basket set. So I have everything pulled out from this that I'm going to be using. My pattern paper that I'm using is from a basic gray 6x6 pad. It's from the Basics Manila paper pad. And I love this paper pad only because I can also rip these papers out and use them for journaling and stuff on layouts. So I cut this piece down. This is actually, let me see, this one right here, I just cut it out from this section. And it measures 3 3/4 by 5. And I'm going to go ahead and use this for all of my stamping. And like I said, I'm using the Lawn Fawn Critters in the Burb. And I'm going to start with the bigger tree, and I'm just going to use my Memento black ink. I'm going to ink up my image here. It's actually easier if I went from this direction. And I'm just going to go ahead and stamp my tree right on the side here. Just like that. And then I'm going to use my Copic markers, and I pulled out 2 of them. This is E35 and E37, and I'm just going to use them to color in my trunk of my tree here, the tree trunk. And now what I'm going to do is, still using my Memento ink, I'm going to be using a couple different inks. I'm going to go ahead and stamp the little tire tree, and let me get my stamp block out. So I'm just going to go ahead and stamp that. And I'm going to hang that right off the side here. So I'm going to start with C3 for this one. And this is the lighter color. And I'm just going to use it to start doing my coloring for my tire. And now I'm going to take my C5, and for this one I am going to do a little bit of shading. So I'm just going to leave kind of a spot here on the tire, like right on the side here, and then go around the rest of it. And then I'll take my C3 again and kind of blend that little area in that I left. Okay, so it looks just like that. So now for the tree top, what I did was I stamped my tree top onto a piece of pattern paper and then went ahead and cut it out. So I'm just going to go ahead and put that right there. And I'm going to use some pop dots to do that. So I'm just going to go ahead and I have different pop dots, and I'm not really liking them because they're not as easy to get off the mat. I have to peel the backing off first and then stick it down to my image. So I have to kind of use my fingernail to get into the foam. So I'm just going to go ahead and layer that right onto there. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take another one of the stamps from the same set, and this is the little grass to this set. So I'm just going to go ahead and stick that onto my block, my block, and I'm going to use some Jenny Bolin Stick Candy ink for this, and I'm just going to go ahead and add my grass right down to the bottom of my tree here. And I'm going to do a little bit of overlapping. Okay, so there's my grass. And I'm going to use that grass again in a second here. The next thing I want to do is actually, still using the Jenny Bolin ink, I'm going to take the little flower stem, and over in this corner I'm going to go ahead and stamp some flowers. So I'm just going to do one at a time. So I have my stem on my first one, and then I'm going to take my flower and just going to put it on the opposite side of my block. And I'm going to use some Aqua Mist, Paper Tray ink Aqua Mist for this one. I'll go ahead and clean that off. And then I'll go back to my little flower branch here. And then I'm going to take the other flower, and for this one I'm going to use the chewing gum, Jenny Bolin chewing gum. So there's that one. And then I think I'll do one more. Let's put that one right next to it. And then I'll do another one of the open flowers with the Aqua Mist. Okay, so there's that. So let me just close up these ink pads here. And then I'm going to use my grass again, so I'm going to clean off these stamps and then stick my grass back on. There's a helicopter going by, guys. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of my grass going across. So the next thing I'm going to do is do my sentiment, and I'm done with my Jenny Bolin ink there, so I'm just going to bring out my brown sugar. And for this one, what I'm going to do is, this is the Paper Tray ink stamp, and it says Stop and Smell the Flowers, which I thought was perfect to go with this stamp set. So I'm going to start by doing the, I'm going to use two different inks. I'm going to use the Aqua Mist and the brown sugar. So I'm going to go ahead and stamp the Stop and Smell the in the brown ink. So just to make sure I got it nice and inked up. And then I'll just use my baby wipe here to make sure I don't have any brown ink on the flower. So I'm going to do Stop and Smell the right there in the top. And then I'll clean this off. And then we'll do flower in the Aqua Mist. So I have to bring this one a little bit closer to me to see what I'm doing. So I'm inking that up, and then I'll just wipe off because I got a little bit on my tea there. And then I'm going to do flower right underneath the Stop and Smell the. Okay, so that is pretty much my image. Now my flower is a little bit wet from the ink because I just re-inked this, so I have to wait for it to dry. So what I'll do is, while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'm going to take my card base, which is the Aqua Mist cardstock. This is a half of an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, so it measures 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm going to go ahead and score it at 4 1/4. So I'm just going to get out my score buddy, and then we'll do the score line at 4 1/4. And then we'll go ahead and fold that. And then I have a piece of craft cardstock, which is 1/4 inch smaller than the front of my card. So this measures 4 by 5 1/4. So that's going to go right on the front. So I'll just go ahead and adhere that down. So I'm just going to go ahead and center that right in the front of my card. Just like that. And then I think my ink is still wet on this, so I'm just going to go ahead and heat that a little bit with my heat gun. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my little tape runner for this. And this is just going to get adhered right to the craft cardstock. So that'll go right in the center of this. So this is 1/4 of an inch smaller than the craft cardstock. Okay, and there we go. Thanks for watching another episode of Creations with Christina. I'll see you next time.